part of the practice at the Big Quiet for several years, part of the guided practice, was something that I was taught through my friend Paul Kuhn, which is this really beautiful practice where in the meditation, once the eyes are closed, once we've breathed a little bit, once we've given permission to ourselves, and remember, we're doing this with thousands of people, give permission to ourselves to feel whatever shit we're feeling right now and to embrace it, to welcome it, and to not judge it or resist it, to just be with it, right? Given permission to feel thousands of people. We would then invite people to think about someone in their life that is alive or that's passed away that they love. And in this place, to see that person, imagine that person sitting across from them and to see them smiling and to feel into the joy that they've experienced with that person. And then to feel into their heart and send that person love in whatever way that looked or felt like for them, to just send that person love and to just be with that sensation. And then we would do that for ourselves. We would do that for someone that, maybe we were having beef with at the time. A really beautiful part of the meditation. But the feedback that I would hear so often, and it was at its most potent when I was touring with Oprah, and Oprah really liked that practice. So I was doing that in, arenas, 15, 17,000 people at a time. The thing that I would hear first, the thing that was so interesting was that you'd always hear people crying. It was like one person would cry and it would give permission for other people to cry, which in my opinion is the most potent healing practice there is. Releasing emotions, being with emotions, crying, so powerful. But the thing that I would hear all the time, pretty often afterwards, is people would say, holy shit, I lost my grandfather, or I lost my child, or I lost, this loved one. And that was the first time I really felt their presence, being with so many other people, given permission to feel, being permission to remember them and send love to them and open my heart to them. I felt that I was with them again. That to me was the coolest thing to hear.
That is incredible. And so now let's clearly just take a beat back and talk about Oprah. So I like how you just kind of skipped over that. So tell me how that came to be.
Yeah, so we started doing this thing in 2018 where we were touring the Big Quiet in the way that we used to tour bands at our label. It was this awesome fusion of what I learned from the music industry and what I was doing, what we were doing with the Big Quiet. And we started touring. So we'd go to a different city pretty much every day or every other day. We would partner with an iconic location, and we would, invite hundreds or thousands of people to have a Big Quiet moment. So the second time we toured in Chicago, we were at the Museum of Natural History. We did our mass meditation right in front of the largest discovered dinosaur, this huge dino. I think her name is Sue. And some of Oprah's team came to that Big Quiet event, and they got to experience it and they really enjoyed it. So they invited me to have a moment at what was going to be Oprah's 2020 Vision Tour, this huge arena tour she had coming up in 2020. I was invited to give a short talk and to guide a meditation for the Brooklyn stop, which was the coolest because Barclays Center was a place I always dreamed of doing the Big Quiet. And that was, I think, like midway into her tour. And a couple weeks before the tour began, I got a call saying that my spot was removed. And I was so bummed. I was so looking forward. I just moved out of New York, so it was going to be my big return and it's a place I was so excited about. And Mel, who's an incredible producer of Oprah's, really fought for me. And she was like, all right, I don't think we're going to be able to get you Barclays, but we're going to see if we can get you Fort Lauderdale. It's the first tour stop. What do you think? And I'd be like, I'll take anything. What she told me was that they gave a bunch of different options to Oprah for what to do for the Fort Lauderdale event. I didn't have much footage. So much of what we did at Big Quiet, we filmed the audience, the spaces. I just didn't get much footage of myself.
And were you always leading?
Not always. The first couple years, we would invite different meditation teachers to lead. But then by this point, I was pretty doing all of them. But anyways, they took a risk. They said, let's do it. Oprah had later on shared with me that she loved the concept. She said that she thought the idea of the Big Quiet was brilliant, which is always such a cool thing to hear because Oprah really inspired so much of it. But they took a shot for Fort Lauderdale and went for it. It was really exciting. It was going to be this great way to kick off the tour. And then I was going to kind of say goodbye to everybody and they were going to, go on and do the rest of the tour. And they decided to give me a 30-minute slot, which was so incredibly generous, especially when, they could have had Deepak. They could have had these way bigger names in meditation or wellness. And they really took a shot with me. And I'm saying with me because at this moment, it wasn't the Big Quiet. They kind of invited me to do like more of a Jesse segment. But I did a talk, I got into meditation, and then Oprah came on stage and interviewed me. And we talked about those college panic attacks and not being able to speak in front of 10 people. And then she said, what's it like to speak in front of a whole arena right now? So, we got to reflect on that journey. And I got to reflect on the things that I learned that allowed me to move through so much of the fear and so much of the blocks to come back into relationship with my gifts, to be there in that moment. And that was a really, touching moment for me. And my family was in the audience. They flew out for it. So that was really cool.
Can I just ask you a question? How do you hold confidence? How do you hold space in conversation with Oprah? I'm a pretty confident gal. I would just poop my pants. I don't know how you sit with Oprah. And I mean, God bless anybody who can do that. She is just such a powerhouse and she's just almost of a caliber all of her own. Yeah. So I'm just curious, what were you telling yourself in that moment?
Well, actually, just to close the thought before I answer that, that experience wound up going well. And 2 days after that tour stop, they called and they said, hey, can you come on the whole tour? And the reason why I share that is because it's such a reminder that when that Barclays thing didn't work out, I was so devastated. But then it led to me not only doing Barclays, but doing the entire tour. And we got to bring the Big Quiet for the whole thing. So I just wanted to share that anecdote because so often things that we think are not going to plan are actually happening for an important reason. But to answer your question, the night before that Fort Lauderdale event, before this big first tour stop, we were doing 4,000 person Big Quiets up to this point, 15,000 in an arena with Oprah sold out with like all the media in the world and every celebrity there. That was a whole other experience for me. And I remember talking to my mentor, Johnny Pollard, who's been a critical piece, this whole journey with the Big Quiet, critical. He said, take the rest of the night to be really, because I was very excited. I can't believe it. Can you believe it? Like that kind of energy. He said, take the rest of the night to be really excited. He said, but when you wake up tomorrow, understand, of course you're doing this. Look at all the work you and the team and the community have put into building, this movement. He said, of course you're meant to be on stage with Oprah. Of course you're meant to have this experience. He said, so when you wake up tomorrow, just start owning it. Just start owning it. And it was the best advice because I got to kind of like have my fanboy energy for the rest of that night. And when I woke up in the morning, I woke up and I was like, let's go. I was born for this. We were meant for this moment. Like 8th grade Jesse is fully resurrected and giving those gifts in a way that's not harming, but is actually helping. So that really helped me to just own my power in it. And also to be authentically myself. They asked me right before I went on, like literally I'm backstage, they're miking me up. It's the craziest energy. And then they say, Oprah wants to interview you for the last 10 minutes. Do you want the questions? And I was just like, no. So when we were in conversation, I just was honest, just myself. I didn't think I was going to talk about having panic attacks before I spoke in front of 10 people in college, but it's what came up. And I think that just by being myself and sort of owning my own humanness and power, we had a really special vibe. And it led to her asking the producer to invite me on the tour. So such a reminder. And the other thing they said that really always stuck with me. I'm not super active on social media. I haven't been. I think at that time I had 4,000 followers, on Instagram. And they said to me, they chose me and our work with the Big Quiet because it just felt authentic. They're like, they're people with bigger followings and those people tend to be divas. This is their words, not mine. They said, we're choosing you for this experience because it feels authentic. And it felt so good because I always kind of had this shame around not doing it the way that all the wellness influencers did it. I kind of had this shame around like there was something about doing it my way that didn't feel enough. That was one of those moments where I was like, just keep doing it my way. Just keep owning it, even if it looks different.